Chapter 81, Sly Fox. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A man wearing noble garb, looking like he came out of a medieval movie, entered the arena. He looked like he was 190 cm in height, a muscular body that can even be seen through the clothes he is wearing. What stood out most about this man who had just entered the arena was his cold dead eyes. The phrase, "the eyes are the window of the soul," couldn't be more correct in talking about this man. Looking into the man's lifeless eyes, everyone could immediately think he was dead inside. Looking into the eyes of the man who had just entered, Victor flashed a small smile. "Oh. You can tell?" Scathach displayed a small satisfied smile. "Yeah. At first glance, it might appear that he is a man bored with everything, a dead man. But that couldn't be more incorrect." Victor's eyes gleamed a little through the glasses he was wearing. "Ha ha ha. Foxes always know how to deceive someone, for these animals deceiving people is like second nature. That man. He's a fox." She laughed in amusement, looking pleased with Victor's opinion. "Is he strong?" Violet asked. "Yeah. Of course, he's strong, but the question you should be asking is, how strong is he?" Scathach replied. Violet looked at the man again. She seemed to be examining the man. "I feel that my mother is stronger than him." Pfft. Ha 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 ha. Scathach started laughing as if she heard the funniest joke in the world. Violet looked at Scathach with an emotionless look. "Girl, a woman who relies only on her powers isn't qualified enough to be called strong. Do you know why?" Scathach bared all her teeth as she laughed. Violet waited for Scathach's following words. "Because when someone takes that power from her, she will become useless." This dash. Violet wasn't able to argue anything against Scathach's words. After all, she also knew that her mother had never trained anything in her life other than her power. "Is she strong?" "Yes, of course, she is. She has mastered the control of her power. But without that power, she becomes useless. It's like a wizard that if he loses his magic, he will become an ordinary person, and she didn't even bother to train the vampire's basic powers." Scathach continues, this time in a teacher's tone of voice. "Remember, a hunter must always have several weapons in his arsenal at his disposal. He must always have different ways to kill a creature stronger than himself. If you can't use your innate vampire powers, use martial arts and force close-range combat. If you can't use martial arts, get a weapon. If a weapon is not available, take a stone. Use the environment to your advantage, use everything you can to kill your enemy. That's what a hunter does, and that's what I taught Victor." "I get it." Violet took this as a learning lesson. She thought she should ask Victor to teach her something in the future. Ruby, Lakis, Sienna, and Eleanor didn't know how to react to these words, but as former students, they decided to take notes on Scathach's words, but they were wondering something internally: why didn't she teach this to us too? The four women unconsciously looked at Victor, feeling the eyes of the women on him. Victor, who was looking at the man who arrived at the center of the arena, said, "Let's go back to watching." "Before that, give me my sister," Elizabeth demanded. Victor looks back and sees Elizabeth standing behind him. "It's not like I'm holding her here. You can take her off if you want." Victor stopped petting Ophis and opened his arms. Elizabeth walked in front of Victor, but before she could do anything, she took a pair of black gloves from her pocket. Victor looked at the glove and saw several magic symbols engraved on the glove. "Protection?" "Yes," she answered. Soon she started to move her hand towards Ophis. Everyone looked at this scene with curious eyes. When Elizabeth's hands touch Ophis's arm, the little girl suddenly opens her eyes. Ophis's blood-red eyes were emitting a dangerous light. She gripped Victor's clothes tighter and looked at her sister. Elizabeth's body visibly trembled, but she remained calm and said, "We need to go back, Ophis." "Stop." Elizabeth's body suddenly stopped moving as if paralyzed, but this only lasted a few seconds. Then she was able to regain control of her body. "Ophis dash." She smiled gently and tried to convince Ophis, but before she could say anything more, "I will not go." The little girl refused to listen. TSK. Violet was waiting for her to accept. Violet. Sasha and Ruby looked at Violet. Do you remember our conversation? Ruby says. She didn't like that either, but she's conscientious enough not to seek a fight with the king's family. Yeah. I won't do anything. Violet turned her face away. The two did not trust her words. Victor exhibited a small smile. He closed his arms and stroked Sophie's hair. Let her do what she wants. Seeing Ophis' satisfied expression. Elizabeth sighed and turned away from Ophis. She walked to a chair next to Eleanor and sat down. Princess. Countess Eleanor. The two exchanged little greetings. Soon the whole group looked towards the arena, which began to create a dome around the two individuals, and suddenly a golden scroll appeared floating in the middle of the dome. Count Niklaus Horseman, thank you so much for bringing the countship for me today. You are very confident. The man spoke in an emotionless tone. Of course I'm confident. I'm not my sister who would lose something so important to someone insignificant like you. I see. He looked at the audience with a bored look. Victoria was a little annoyed internally. She wanted to tease him a little to try to learn a little more about the man's personality, but he didn't react as she expected. He looked back at her. How are we going to decide this? A fight? A dance? A board game? If you choose a board game, I suggest chess. Oh but dash. He exhibited a small cold smile. Chess can be a difficult thing for you, considering you don't seem to have much intellectual capacity. Victoria opened her eyes a little. She didn't expect this coming from someone like him, but she wasn't someone who would let this little insult disturb her emotions. I want a fight, something simple. With that, you will have no excuses if you lose. And we need to entertain this entire audience, right? A game of chess would be tedious. She smiled gently. A fight is fine with me. Niklaus agreed. How many rounds? How many competitors? And what are the rules? Niklaus cracked his neck a little. 1 round is enough. The rules are simple. We fight until the other side has lost their heart or gives up on their own. As vampires, they are immortal, but it is not true immortality. If the vampire has their head completely destroyed, they will die, and if the vampire suffers an attack with their mortal weaknesses, they will die too. Because of that, she proposed a rule: if the vampire loses their heart, they will lose the game. After all, this type of injury can be easily healed with vampire regeneration. I heard from a little bird that your twin sons are geniuses. Put one of them to fight. Then, I will select a trusted warrior to fight him. She continued with a gentle smile on her face. It was quite clear that she had confidence in the warrior she had chosen. What a coincidence. I also learned from a little bird that was a color very similar to yours that you had a child, and to my surprise, that child was an oriental vampire. I wonder if the clan Fulger knows that. Niklaus flashed a cold little smile. Victoria's eyes changed to blood red for a moment, and she took on a cold expression. Where are you going, Count Niklaus? Victoria didn't like it. She's pretty sure she hid her son's information from the fangs of these old vampires. They weren't supposed to know about her son. Use your son to fight. If you choose your child, I will accept these terms. That fox. Victoria knew that if she didn't accept it, the next news the entire vampire world would know was that she had a child by a foreign vampire, and she knows that the first person who would knock on her door upon learning of this information would be her sister. Normally this would not be a problem, but as her son was born with the lightning power she did not inherit, her sister will demand that her son be turned over to Clan Fulger. He cornered me. She knew that if her son fought, the chance of him using his lightning powers was high. You can give up, you know. Victoria clenches her fist tightly. She can't give up. She's come too far to give up now. I accept. He will fight. I accept the terms. Niklaus looked at the parchment, and, seeing that everything was correct, he turned away. Victoria watched the man's back for a long time. but soon she turned to and walked out of the arena. It's okay, my son inherited his father's talent, he can win without using lightning. Edited by, is unavailable. If you want to support me so that I can pay artists to illustrate the characters in my novel, visit my Patreon, patreon.com/VictorWeissman. More characters images in /4FETZAF, like it. Add to library. Don't forget to vote to support the book if you like it. Chapter 82, the match is starting. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. After the events that took place in the arena, the two clan leaders split up and returned to their respective VIP rooms. Inside a VIP room very similar to the one Victor was in, 3 people were present. A blonde woman wearing a long elegant black dress was sitting on a sofa, and beside her was a woman wearing a purple dress with some white accents. Unlike Victoria, where the dress was more noble, this woman's dress was more modern. Tatsuya, I'm counting on you. And remember not to use lightning. You can win with only your father's talent, I believe in you. Take care, my son. Victoria spoke with a gentle expression on her face as she looked at her son, a tall man at 185 centimeters in height, pale skin, long dark blonde hair, and dark black eyes. He was wearing a black yukata with gold accents. Yes, mother. The man exhibited a small, gentle smile as he walked towards the exit of the room and walked towards the arena. The moment Tatsuya left the room, Victoria looked at the woman beside her with a serious look different from what she was showing before. How can they know about Tatsuya? I'm paying you billions of dollars every month, so that doesn't happen. She spoke in a cold tone. Believe me, Victoria. I do not know either. The woman spoke with a small sigh. Even for a witch like you, you don't know. Victoria's eyes changed to blood red. Sigh. The woman sighed after watching Victoria for a while. Yes, I don't know. But I do have a hunch. What? One of that woman's daughters has the clairvoyant ability. Maybe your son showed up at some important event in the future, and she knew about it. But that wouldn't explain why the Horseman clan knows about it. Victoria was not satisfied. Hecate, I'm paying you a dear price every month for you to hide my son's existence and protect him. She assumed a cold smile. From the moment that old man discovered my son's existence, you failed your job. I will lower your pay. The witch opened her eyes wider, and her face darkened a little. W8, his existence hasn't been discovered by everyone yet, and that doesn't break the contract rule. Victoria ignored what Hecate said. If you don't want to lose money, hurry up and find out what happened. Yes, I will. Hecate sighed a little relieved. She didn't want to miss her golden goose. Being hired by a woman with a net worth of trillions of dollars like Victoria was every witch's dream. So, who will fight, my older brother or me? Maybe my little sister? Einer Horseman asked, and, as always, he had that crazy grin on his face. Niklaus, who was standing watching the arena through the glass, spoke without looking back. Your older brother cannot fight, and I will not entrust such an important matter to my daughter. You will fight. Oh. Thanks, Father. Einer continued to laugh. This is your last chance, don't fail me like you failed to capture that alpha wolf. This time, the opponent is someone of your level, and he won't be using all of his power. You shouldn't have excuses if you lose to that woman's son. Niklaus was very disappointed. He gave his son a simple mission and even sent someone strong enough to capture an alpha wolf, but even so, the two failed because of their arrogance. Einer kept showing his smile as he looked at his father seriously. He knew he had disappointed his father, and that is something that shouldn't be repeated. I will not fail, father. He spoke with absolute confidence. He had no confidence in fighting an alpha wolf, but a vampire. That's easy. Good. Now, go. Yes. Einer got up from the couch and walked towards the exit of the VIP room. Sly and Jessica just fell silent. How is the boy's condition? Niklaus asked. Dying, sick. Sly responded neutrally, and then he continued, he doesn't have time. Niklaus started to think a little before speaking. That's a problem. It's very difficult to create a hybrid. We can't lose it until we complete our goal. What shall we do with those individuals my brothers have brought? Jessica asked. She was curious about what her father was going to do with Lucy and his subordinates. Nothing. Karen is keeping an eye on them. I don't trust Karen, Jessica said. She couldn't trust Karen, she felt that this woman would betray them at any moment. My daughter. Niklaus looked at his daughter with the same bored eyes he always has. It doesn't matter whether you trust her or not. She's doing her job and giving information, that's all that matters. But Jessica wanted to say something, but her father continued. If she becomes useless and doesn't do her job, she should just be eliminated. He looked back at the arena. Asking for a vampire's trust is sheer nonsense. Jessica was silent, she didn't know what to say to her father because, in the end, she knew he was correct. Vampires will always act in their own best interest. A man wearing a red and black suit walked into the middle of the arena. He was a tall man and was wearing a smiling mask on his face. The man raised his hands in the air and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, the two clans have decided the rule of the game today." His voice strangely traveled to all corners of the arena. Look at this. He pointed into the air, and soon everyone could see a giant hologram showing, chosen games, a 1v1 duel, rounds, 1. Rules, if the participant has their heart destroyed, they lose. If the participant surrenders, they lose. Time limit, no limit. Clan horseman bets, vampire count title, clan rider bets, the rider conglomerate. Attention, the game starts in 10 minutes. Oh. The crowd started clapping and cheering. It's a fight. A fight. A man shouted excitedly. Would we be able to see two count-level vampires fighting? A woman spoke with a big smile on her face, she looked excited. This is a great opportunity. A man across the arena spoke. Finally, something interesting is happening. A bored-looking man spoke. I wouldn't be so optimistic. A pessimistic-looking woman commented. The vampires who were present in the arena started to debate who would fight whom. They looked very impatient, but it wasn't just them. Victor's group was also impatient. TSK. Mainly Victor. Father. Ophis looks up and sees Victor's annoyed face. Victor looked at Ophis and smiled gently, then he began to stroke her head. It's nothing, Ophis. She exhibited a small smile and closed her eyes as if enjoying his caresses. Haha. Be patient, Victor. These things take time to get done. Scat commented. Victor didn't say anything and just remained silent. My aunt seemed to get annoyed for a moment. Sasha, who was beside Victor, spoke. Oh, did you notice? Yes, Sasha nodded. It was only for a few seconds, but her emotions seemed to intensify, Ruby commented. That man must have done something. Elizabeth, who was a little far away, spoke. You seem to know him, Princess. Victor looked at Elizabeth. Nothing escapes the king's eyes. Elizabeth smiled. Ha ha ha. Scat laughed as if she'd heard the funniest joke in the world. Elizabeth's face became neutral. Nothing escapes the king's eyes. Except for Countess Scat. She rephrased her sentence. Glad you understand, Princess. Elizabeth turned her face away and ignored Scat. When she turned her face away, she could see her guards, who were still standing with thorns of ice hovering around them. Can you let my guards go? Oh. I forgot about them. Scat snaps her fingers, and soon the ice is gone. Thanks, Princess. The guards spoke, and soon they broke away from the group and stood guard near the door. Sigh. Elizabeth sighed. For some reason, she just wanted to get out of this place, she couldn't handle Scat. You seem to be having a rough time, Princess, Eleanor spoke. Elizabeth looked at Eleanor with a neutral gaze and nodded. Don't worry, we all understand your feeling. Everyone in the room except Victor, Sasha, Ruby, Violet, and Scat, who were talking to each other, nodded. My mom is a very difficult person to deal with. Especially now that she's... having fun. Sienna spoke. Elizabeth looked at Sienna with a neutral expression. Sienna's eyes darkened a little, but don't worry, you'll get used to it soon, and look. She found someone like her. We have 2 scat-hack now. Bloody hell, I want to get out of here. She really wanted to get out of that room right now. Edited by, is unavailable. If you want to support me so that I can pay artists to illustrate the characters in my novel, visit my Patreon, patreon.com/victorweissman. More characters images in, /4fetzaf, like it? Add to library. Don't forget to vote to support the book if you like it. Chapter 83, Let the Games Begin. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 10 minutes had passed, and the game was about to start. The hologram of the arena suddenly changed, and soon everyone could see the participants' faces, their age, and their names. Einer horseman, heir to the horseman clan, age, 105. Tatsuya, hired mercenary, age, 90. When the audience saw that they were 2 children, their reaction was mixed. TSK, 2 kids. Some didn't like it. It's better than nothing. Some just didn't care anymore. They're cute. Some thought they were both attractive. Boring. Some lost interest. I wanted to see the 2 leaders fight. Some were honest with their thoughts. Despite having different reactions, there was something they all had in common: they were bored. But there wasn't much better to do, so they were going to watch anyway. So it's him. Tatsuya. Victor's smile grew when he finally got to know the name of the person who had a strong presence. He had seen a strong presence some time ago near the VIP room where he was, and he finally got to know who this individual was. An Einer horseman. Victor's eyes lit up a little when he saw the name, horseman. So he's the heir, huh? He thought with an indecipherable little smile. Do you want me to investigate it, master? Victor suddenly heard Kagaya's voice in his head. He stroked Offa's head and thought for a moment. No need. The reason he refused was simple: he didn't want to put Kagaya at risk. When Victor looked at the leader of Clan Horsemen, he could tell what kind of person he was, and with Skathaka's words a few minutes ago, he knew that man was someone careful. Despite having a convenient power that can help her escape from any situation, Victor doesn't want to risk putting his favorite maid in danger. Okay, master. But if you need anything, talk to me. I'm feeling useless just being in your shadow. I'll talk to you if I need anything, he replied in a low voice. Ophis looks up and stares at Victor. Shadow. Victor displays a gentle smile and puts his finger to his mouth in a gesture of silence. Soon she lays her head on his chest. Heh. She hid his last name, huh? Skathak exhibited a small smile. He looks familiar somehow. Sasha spoke as she stared at the image. Violet didn't care about the contestants, she was just staring at Ophis with a death glare. Despite ignoring it for a few minutes, she still felt jealous and envious of the little girl, and Violet was thinking of doing something. Stop, Ruby spoke. But I haven't done anything yet. Violet looked at Ruby in disbelief. Yes. You haven't done anything yet. Ruby looked at Violet with a look that completely understood Violet's actions. Violet was wondering when she became so predictable. Sigh. Ruby sighed. Don't do anything now, okay? I'm also jealous, and I also want to do something about it, but, despite my feelings about this situation, this little girl is still the king's daughter. So though my mother wouldn't mind it, and our husband wouldn't either, we must not get into conflict with the king. TSK. Violet turned her face away. Ladies and gentlemen. Hearing the announcer's voice, the girls looked towards the arena, where they saw 2 men walking towards the arena. The man with long golden hair was walking calmly towards the middle of the arena. He was wearing a black yukata with black details, and he also had a small katana around his waist. The feeling he gave was that of a sharp but gentle warrior, a very opposite feeling from the other competitor. He was wearing a black sweatshirt and black jeans. The man had a big, distorted smile on his face, and his crazed eyes gave away what kind of personality he seemed to have. Upon reaching the middle of the arena, the two fighters faced each other. Despite being opposites in personality, the audience didn't have a favorite fighter, they didn't care for the gentle-looking fighter, and they also didn't care for the crazy appearance of the other fighter. Instead, they just wanted to see something interesting. The announcer knew that and, because of that, he didn't speak more than necessary. He approached the participants and spoke out loud so that everyone could hear. Everyone present here knows the rule, but I will repeat it. Permanent death is not allowed. If any of the fighters break this rule, severe consequences will happen to the clan the fighter is representing. The masked referee looked at the two. Did I make myself clear? That they both felt a shiver down their spine as they looked through the small space of the masked man's mask. Yes. The two replied. Good. Let the game begin. The referee disappeared. The moment they heard the referee's words, the two participants seemed to disappear from view, and soon they appeared in the middle of the arena. Tatsuya was holding his katana, and Einer was holding a completely black rapier. The two swords collided in the middle of the arena. Tatsuya looked at the rapier with appraising eyes. He wondered when this weapon appeared in the man's hand. He knew his opponent didn't enter the arena with this weapon in hand, but he didn't have much time to think when he felt something trying to pierce his back. Realizing the danger, Tatsuya decided to flee from this situation. Calm down, don't run away. Tatsuya looked down and saw that his feet were trapped in the ground by some kind of black slime. Tatsuya's body started to crackle with lightning for a few seconds but soon stopped. Instinctively, Tatsuya would use his lightning bolts, but remembering his mother's words, he managed to control himself. With no choices, he decided to do whatever was necessary not to lose the game from the start. So he uses a parry technique and deflects Einer's blade. In doing so, he managed to knock the blade away from Einer. Realizing his chance, he makes a decision and cuts off his legs. With his body falling towards the ground, Tatsuya supports himself with his hand and moves away. He looked at the place where he was and saw a kind of blackthorn piercing the air. What is that? With a calm face, he tried to understand the enemy's power. Ha ha ha. I wonder if the public knows what's going on. Scathach laughed in amusement. Suddenly everyone could feel a sensation that made the spines of their bodies shiver, and everyone in the VIP room looked at Victor. Heh. As expected, you didn't disappoint me again. Scathach's smile grew. Victor's hair seemed to be floating like it was defying gravity, his eyes were glowing a dangerous red, and he had a huge smile that showed all the sharp teeth in his mouth. Father? Ophis called him, but Victor seemed to be in a trance, and he didn't hear her. Ophis looked at Victor, her big eyes shining cutely. She didn't understand why Victor didn't talk to her. That feeling is scary. Pepper muttered a little. Did he get like this just seeing those two fight? Everyone in the room except Violet, Ruby, Sasha, Scathach, and Ophis, who were more concerned about looking at Victor, agreed with Pepper. Seeing the face she considered an excited face of her disciple, Scathach started to think of a few things. She looked back to the arena. Aren't you going to attack me? Just because I'm in this condition, are you underestimating me? Tatsuya asked in a cold voice. He, I don't need to move to attack you. Suddenly a blackthorn pierces Tatsuya's heart. Tatsuya. My son, why didn't you finish the fight? Victoria didn't seem worried about her son. In fact, she looked impatient. TSK. This is boring. Someone in the audience complained. As a 450-year-old vampire, this kind of fight wasn't surprising to him. That same feeling was shared by the other vampires who were similar in age to that man and were watching the fight. For them, it was just a child's fight. Do you have fun when you see two kids fighting? Of course not. What are you waiting for, boy? Finish the opponent. And end this farce soon. A man from the audience shouted towards Einer. Einer seemed to be singing a song and totally ignored the man in the audience. Then his red eyes started to glow. I feel weird. Einer started to think of a few things, and soon he made a move that left everyone speechless. He takes the rapier he created and pierces his own heart. An uncomfortable silence descended on the arena. Nobody understood what happened. Silence remains for 30 seconds, then everyone hears the sound of breaking glass. The sky is cracking. Someone spoke in disbelief, the sky suddenly broke, and soon everyone woke up in a stupor. Vampires under 500 years of age looked at the arena in shock. Ha! Are you both okay? What happened? The audience was freaking out. An older vampire in the audience said, "Children these days are too weak to fall for this simple trick." He shook his head in disappointment. Unexpected. I thought this would be easy. Tatsuya spoke in a cold voice. He was still standing in the same spot the game had started and was about to finish the fight when he realized that Einer had fallen into his power, but his instincts warned him not to get closer now. Einer's smile grew disproportionately. I see. We didn't know about this power. Edited by, is unavailable. If you want to support me so that I can pay artists to illustrate the characters in my novel, visit my Patreon, patreon.com/VictorWeissman. More characters images in, /4FETZAF, like it? Add to library. Don't forget to vote to support the book if you like it. Chapter 84, Tatsuya vs. Einer. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. What? What just happened? Violet rubbed her eyes. This power is dangerous. I didn't even feel like I was in an illusion. Sasha spoke in a serious voice. She felt uncomfortable as she imagined she could be in an illusion at any time. Illusion. Violet looked at Sasha. Yes. I don't know how it works, but that is the power he just used, right? Since she wasn't sure what she was talking about, she looked to Scathach for answers. Sasha was internally surprised. Is his power so strong that it could affect several young vampires present in the arena simultaneously? Seeing what Sasha was doing, Violet also looked at Scathach. Sensing Sasha and Violet's gaze, Scathach looked at them and flashed a small, unreadable smile. You're correct that his power is an illusion, but that's not all. Then she looked back at the arena. Sasha and Violet nodded. They understood why the woman spoke so mysteriously. She was basically saying, use your brains, the problem is right in front of you. That power, when was it activated? I don't remember looking him in the eye. Ruby commented. Indeed. He doesn't have an emo attitude either. Pepper, who got up and approached Ruby, added. Violet and Sasha looked at their sisters. What are you talking about? Violet asked as she raised her eyebrow. Nothing. The two spoke at the same time. Tatsuya looked at Einer with a cold look on his face. Tell me, do you think your reality that you see is really real? Then, his eyes changing to blood red, he started walking towards Einer. I don't know, and I don't care either. Einer looked to his right side and ignored what Tatsuya was saying. I see. Tatsuya's image disappeared from the arena. If the act of observing reality is what determines what is real, then Tatsuya appears beside Einer and attacks him. Black thorns suddenly grow from the ground and cross Tatsuya, and Tatsuya's blood splashed in Einer's face. For just a small moment, Einer's face displayed a tiny bit of pleasure. He thought he had it right this time, but soon a strange sensation like the one he'd felt the first time hit him. What am I to you? A reality? Or an illusion? That the image of Tatsuya being pierced by the black thorns disappears like a mirage, and a katana blade appears behind Einer and cuts him vertically. Einer tries to dodge the attack, but he can barely manage. He had to sacrifice his arm fell to the ground, and he felt the pain. He backed away quickly and looked at his arm, and again he felt that nagging feeling in his heart. This isn't real. The moment he identified what was real, his arm disappeared from the ground and returned to his body. If you can't understand me, you can't fight me since you can't fight what you don't understand. A katana suddenly pierces Einer's chest. Cough. Einer coughed up blood on the floor. This time, he felt that this wound was real. He creates black thorns behind him and attacks Tatsuya. Tell me. The wound you just received, does it exist? TSK. Hearing Tatsuya's voice, Einer's face for the first time showed an annoyed expression. Fuck off. Several thorns appear around Einer. Where are you? Show yourself. The audience was silent. They couldn't understand what was happening right in front of them. But, of course, this only applied to the younger vampires. The older vampires knew what was going on, and the only thing that crossed the mind of the older vampires was, Where did the leader of Clan Rider find this man with such exotic power? The eyes of the older vampires looked at Tatsuya with a look of limitless curiosity. For them, who were bored, Tatsuya was a perfect existence to kill their boredom. Haha, that kid must be having a hard time right now. Scat-Hack chuckled. She looked at Victor, who seemed to have all of his senses focused on the fight. Do you seem to understand what's going on, Victor? She exhibited a small smile. Hearing Scat-Hack's question, everyone looked at Victor. Yeah. Look, Tatsuya is going to cut his legs off now. And just like Victor said, Tatsuya's katana appears on Einer's legs and cuts diagonally. Einer was going through a difficult time. He understood what was going on, but despite understanding the enemy's power, he couldn't do anything to counteract that power. It's useless. He heard Tatsuya's voice again. As long as you don't understand my existence, you can't fight me. The katana appears again in front of Einer and tries to cut off his head. Einer quickly creates a thorn shield in front of him and jumps back using his hands. When Tatsuya's katana touches the thorn shield, the katana disappears like mist. Victor's group was surprised again. This is a tough fight for me. Eleanor was honest. She was primarily a fighter who used strength to overcome everything. Indeed. This man is like an eel. He is very slippery, and that power is irritating to fight back against. Elizabeth spoke. How do you fight someone who can confuse all your senses? He has the advantage. Lakis spoke. You are thinking wrong. Victor and Scat-Hack's voices were heard at the same time. The group was silent again. For the first time, Victor stops watching the fight and looks at Scat-Hack, then he exhibits a small smile. Do you explain, or do I explain? That she smiled. You explain. She wanted to know Victor's thoughts. Victor gets up with Ophis in his arms and says something in Ophis' ear. The girl nodded in agreement. He decided to demonstrate, after all, is better than explaining. Watch. He places his hand in front of Ophis and descends slowly. The group started to watch the movement of Victor's hands. Victor's hands began to glow with the power of lightning, and it caught the girl's attention even more. He looked like he was going to do something big. Suddenly he said, Now, where is Ophis? Ha! The women looked up and saw that Ophis had disappeared. She disappeared. Elizabeth screamed and got up from her chair. She couldn't lose her sister again. Ruby, Sasha, and Violet look around, and soon they see Ophis sitting on Victor's ice throne, but since the throne was so big, it looked like she had disappeared. She's on the throne. The three spoke. Elizabeth walks close to the throne and sighs with relief when she sees Ophis sitting in a cute fashion. What I just did is simple. I focused your attention on my hands, and you didn't see Ophis come down from my arms, a simple attention-shifting trick. That's basically what he's doing to deceive Einer. Of course, he's not using this simple magic trick. He must be using his power to make it work on a large scale. Ha 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 ha. Good, you get it, but you missed something, idiot disciple. Oh. Victor and the group looked at Scat-Hack. That man, he is not trying to deceive the boy of Clan Horseman, he is deceiving his very existence. She exhibited a teacher's smile. By becoming a difficult creature to be observed, the brain cannot understand what it is observing, so it looks like he is using a form of illusion. He said it, right? You can't fight what you don't understand. That's basically a tip he left. I see. Victor's smile grew a little. Father. Ophis raised her hand up in a gesture that told Victor to hold her. What a spoiled girl. Victor smiled kindly and picked up Ophis again, then sat on the ice throne he created. Better. Elizabeth didn't know what to say or think seeing her sister like this. Crack. Violet's grip was so strong that she broke the ice throne she was sitting on a little. In an attempt to ignore what she was seeing, she said. He is hiding his very existence, and by doing so, he manages to fool his opponent. Her brain was spinning to try to understand what she just heard. That doesn't make any sense, Ruby said. His power is quite unusual in our community. I think he must be a foreign vampire. Sienna commented, as an older vampire, she could understand the battle and the power of man, but even for her, his power was something interesting and curious. The power of the vampires out there shouldn't be that strong. Elizabeth continued. His power is not strong. Eleanor explained, it's the way he uses his power that makes it look like his power is strong. Suddenly everyone could feel a dark pressure. They quickly look into the arena and see Einer's body covered in a distorted black aura. Annoying. Annoying, your power is irritating, your existence is irritating. He had a distorted expression on his face and seemed very upset. I don't need to understand you to defeat you. A pillar of black energy came out of Einer's body. Slowly, Einer's skin began to change to a dark black, he started to grow in height, his ears grew, and black wings made of pure power grew up behind him, his hair lifted as if defying gravity, his eyes took on a deeper shade of red, his teeth sharpened. That's... Victor's smile grew distorted, and everyone could see the big smile Victor had on his face. The Vampire Count form. Edited by, is unavailable. If you want to support me so that I can pay artists to illustrate the characters in my novel, visit my Patreon. Patreon.com/VictorWeissman. More characters images in, /4FETZAF, like it? Add to library. Don't forget to vote to support the book if you like it. Chapter 85, Tatsuya vs. Einer. 2, you are listening at NovelFull.audio. This power, the audience was speechless, especially the younger vampires. How did he achieve this form despite being so young? It's impossible. Some were unbelievers. Oh. That's what I wanted to see. Now it's interesting. The most bored vampires didn't care, they just wanted to have fun. Hey blonde boy, show me something interesting too. That the two fighters ignored the voices of vampires from the audience and focused their attention on each other. Father Sly spoke in a neutral voice, but one that held a sense of warning. I know. It's all right. It's not like it's rare for the sons of vampire counts to take that form. Niklaus didn't look worried, Jessica looked intently at the arena. Although this was a power she still hadn't quite grasped, she hoped that by watching her brother do it, she might understand something. Lady Victoria. Hecate looked worried. It's okay, my son can win, but... After seeing the form her son's opponent took, she thought, these damn geniuses, how old is he? Only 105. And even though he's so young, can he take that form? She was really starting to get worried about her son. Even though her son is a full-fledged genius, he hasn't released this transformation yet. She knows it's foolish to just let him fight without using all of his powers, but despite knowing this, she's still a mother, she wants the best for her son and doesn't want to involve her son in Clan Fulger's schemes. Hecate. If things get bad, send him a message telling him to use all his powers. What about the Fulger clan? I'll deal with those bastards later, but first, we must win this game. But despite being a mother who wants the best for her child, she was an ambitious woman. A contradiction of ambition, desire, and a mother's affection. I see. I will get the message across if something happens. Crack. Crack. Sounds of breaking glass can be heard. It felt like reality was breaking. This reality will decay in the face of my power. He raised his hands, and his power seemed to cover all the space around him. The moment he raised his hand, the world around him began to rot, and slowly, the illusion disappeared and showed Tatsuya, who had a surprised expression on his cold face. Einer broke Tatsuya's power with sheer brute force. And to think you surpassed my power with pure strength. And there's also this transformation. Do you call it vampire count form? Are you scared now? Don't be. We've just started. Einer's smile grew. Wrong, I'm not scared. I just realized that I still have a lot to improve. That's a good thing. Tatsuya braced himself. I see. Einer didn't care. Einer's wings of power seemed to grow, and, as soon as he rose into the air, he spread his wings. Black thorns began to grow inside the wings, and soon a shower of thorns flew towards Tatsuya, using a foot movement that would be the envy of any martial artist. Tatsuya dodged all the thorns. He seemed to be dancing in the middle of the arena and avoided all attacks with as little effort as possible. The thorns hitting the arena seemed to be causing a decaying effect, and the ground was becoming unstable, but for Tatsuya, it wasn't a bother. He just realized that he shouldn't let those thorns touch his katana. His footwork is awesome. I want this technique. Skathack and Victor's eyes sparkled with curiosity, as two beings who were always wanting to get stronger. Seeing a new technique was something that made them very interested. Skathack, does this look like a Japanese martial art? But it seems that whoever invented this martial art adapted it for use by vampires. As a 2,000-year-old vampire, she could already understand the technique with just a glance. And it took less than 10 seconds for her to understand that this technique was useless for her. After all, she had something like that, and the technique Tatsuya used was created specifically for katana users, but she thought it didn't hurt to learn, and, because of that, she just watched the boy fight. By doing that, she could learn faster since, as a master of all martial arts, it was something simple for her to do. Interesting. It's very similar to the technique I use, but it's more refined. Lakis was interested in the match now. The vampire count form and Tatsuya's footwork caught her attention. Sasha had the same feeling as Lakis, but she didn't want the speed. She wanted that calm that man has, even being in danger. His emotions were never altered. She wanted that, and this thought was shared by Violet. She knows that one of her weaknesses is that she loses control of her emotions too easily. TSK. Seeing that he wasn't making any progress, Einer decided to change his strategy. Cocoon. He whispered in a low voice. Soon several black thorns came out from under the arena and formed a black cocoon. Hey! I can't see the fight that way. The audience complained. Yes. Yes. Do something. It was just starting to get interesting. You motherfucker. Do not worry. The referee acted quickly, then used a magical observation device, and soon their fight could be seen through the giant hologram that was floating above the arena. Using the cocoon as a means of using his powers, Einer was throwing several thorns at Tatsuya, a simple overpowering tactic. This is getting complicated. Tatsuya whispered while dodging the black thorns. Then, realizing he was getting cornered with each passing minute, I don't have any choice. He decided to do something. His eyes began to glow blood red, and golden energy began to shine in his katana. I'm sorry, mother. I will be rebellious today. He suddenly stopped moving and assumed an Iajutsu stance. I got you. Einer yelled excitedly. He was finally going to kill this slippery eel. He completely forgot that he shouldn't kill opponents. Ryujin. Tatsuya whispered in a low voice as a colossal pressure started to come out of his body, and that pressure crushed all the black thorns. He drew the katana from its scabbard, and everyone could see only the wake of the katana attacking the air. Hakai no Sora. Ruawayer. The image of an oriental dragon with blue eyes and golden scales that appeared to be covered in lightning seemed to come out of Tatsuya's sword, and it flew towards Einer. What? Einer quickly fled from Tatsuya's attack. He was not foolish enough to try to defend against that attack. The dragon destroyed the cocoon easily and continued to fly towards the dark skies of Nightingale. That is. Sasha rose from her throne and looked at the dragon in shock. He has the power of my clan. A moment of silence descended throughout the arena. Oh! This time everyone was impressed. That was amazing, blonde boy. Incredible. Do it again. That the audience looked like excited children now. Tatsuya. Maybe it's better this way, Hecate spoke to Victoria. That's not what I'm surprised at. Oh, he disobeyed you, huh? Yes, he was always an obedient boy. Victoria wasn't angry. she was just surprised that Tatsuya disobeyed her. Einer continued watching the dragon until it disappeared completely. Then, he looked at Tatsuya, his eyes glowing for a few seconds. After that, he descended from the heavens, took his transformation off, and created a rapier with his powers. He positions rapier in front of him and takes a fighting stance. Oh. Tatsuya was curious. I'm just wasting energy uselessly, you're too fast, and my powers won't hit you. He looked completely different. Even his voice became more serious. This is the most efficient tactic. He understood that he couldn't overcome Tatsuya with raw power, and he also could only assume that form for a few minutes before he was completely exhausted. He didn't want to risk losing because of that. I wonder if this is a good idea. How are you going to hit me if you don't understand me? Tatsuya exhibited a small smile. You're wrong. Einer disappeared and moved in front of Tatsuya. Soon the two blades collide in the middle of the arena. Tatsuya tried to use his powers to deceive the opponent, created a mirage of himself, then backed off, but he was surprised when Einer ignored his mirage and ran towards him. Again the two blades collide. Now, I understand you. He displayed a small neutral smile. Tatsuya exhibited a slight smile. I wonder about that. Soon the two collide again and begin to fight. Crack. Crack. Broken ice sounds can be heard. Everyone looks at Victor and sees him squeezing the armrest of the ice throne as if holding on to keep from jumping into the arena and fighting. A frightening pressure began to leave Victor's body, and his smile only grew and grew. But, this time, the pressure felt more terrifying, and it seemed to be affecting everything around. Some places in the room seemed to be hot like the desert, some places seemed to be cold like the North Pole, some places in the room were making small sounds of electricity crackling. Eleanor, Sienna, Lakis, and Pepper quickly left the part that was too hot and went to the part that was cold. Skathak flashed a small smile. She completely understood how Victor was feeling. Victor? Stop dash. Hi. Pepper tried to talk to Victor, but she couldn't. She quickly fled behind her sister. She knew the place near Victor's wives was the safest. Monster. Eleanor and Elizabeth spoke at the same time when they realized that this was being caused by Victor. Elizabeth was the most shocked. That man has the powers of the three strongest clans. What in the seven hells is going on? She felt that she needed to find out what was going on. As a princess, she started to think that the three clans came together and decided to create a monster, and the result of that is Victor. Ah! Victor let the air out of his lungs. The air seemed to be very hot, and while keeping his smile. Ha 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 ha. He started laughing madly. Edited by, is unavailable. If you want to support me so that I can pay artists to illustrate the characters in my novel, visit my Patreon, patreon.com/victorweissman. More characters images in, /4fetzaf, like it? Add to library. Don't forget to vote to support the book if you like it. Chapter 86, How can I not be excited? You are listening at novelfull.audio. An opponent, a strong opponent, was in front of me. I want to fight. Fuck these policies, fuck everything. I want to fight. And I know someone who can give me that opportunity, someone who doesn't care about the consequences of breaking the game of two large families. Finally, Victor couldn't hold back his desire any longer. Skathak Scarlet. Victor's voice resonated throughout the VIP room. The princess guards and the princess herself were surprised as Victor called Skathak. They were hoping that woman would get angry. I know. I knew this would happen, so I prepared everything. Wait for me here. She smiled as she rose from her ice throne. She didn't do anything. What the fuck? They were freaking out. Sigh. As she walked towards the exit of the VIP room, she sighed. What don't I do for my stupid disciples? She looked pretty tired. That's what it looked like if you ignored the big smile on her face. She seemed to be enjoying the whole situation. The guards, realizing that that monster was walking towards them, quickly backed away from the door. Luna. Skathak spoke up. Yes. Come with me. Yes. What just happened? Do they have some kind of telepathy? Elizabeth asked honestly as Scathach left the VIP room. Probably, Lakis replied. Knowing my mother, she must be planning something. Sienna continued, visibly upset. Violet, Ruby, and Sasha were pouting annoyed, they didn't like it. It seems Scathach understood Victor more than they did. The one most affected by it was Violet. She was about to freak out. I wasn't supposed to let Scathach train, my darling. I should have asked for war. Her thoughts were running wild, sensing the turbulent emotions of his wives. Victor's desire to battle calmed a little, and he said. Calm down, girls. I am fine. And don't think about nonsense. Huh. Ruby, Violet, and Sasha looked at Victor. My wish is simple. Victor's eyes sparkled intensely. I want to fight. For 6 months, I was beaten by my master, and she said I got better. I want to know. I need to know how much better I got. Fighting my master isn't enough, she's just too strong. Oh. The three spoke at the same time. 2 possible strong opponents are in front of me, how can I not get excited? How can I contain my desire? It's impossible. I've always been honest with myself, and now that I'm a vampire, that urge has gotten stronger. Now that I'm a vampire, huh? Elizabeth raised an eyebrow, she understood what that phrase implied. I see. Ruby nodded, she finally understood Victor's thoughts. Wait. Isn't that the same thought process as my mother? Violet puts her finger on her face, darling just wants to have fun. Do you want to fight them now? What about the game? Sasha asked curiously. It's not possible that he wants to fight the 2 of them now, right? Probably, he was talking about fighting them later. Though Sasha thought that was very unlikely. I don't know, and I don't care. Victor was honest, he would only care about something if it was related to his wives, and he knows this game has nothing to do with Sasha. That woman may be Sasha's aunt, but she's something of a distant aunt or an aunt that Sasha doesn't have much contact with. Soon he looked back at the arena and saw a referee in the middle of the arena. It looked like something had happened, and he hadn't noticed. I will entrust this matter to Scathach, my master must be planning something, and I know it won't negatively affect me. Victor spoke honestly, he knows that Scathach would only throw him to the lions in an attempt to make him stronger, and he didn't mind that attitude. In fact, he actually liked it. Everyone was silent and surprised at how much confidence Victor had in his master. Ladies and gentlemen. I apologize, but this game will be stalled for a few minutes. The referee suddenly spoke. Who? The audience felt like a child who had just had their favorite candy stolen. Hey! Someone from the audience there complained, but the referee just looked at that individual and said. Be patient. His cold voice sent shivers down the vampire's spine. Oh okay. He sat back. Huh? Why was the game stopped? Victoria didn't know what was going on. Knock knock. Lady Victoria Ryder, please come to the administration room. Victoria heard the voice of the arena worker. Victoria looked at the door. What's going on? A new clan has joined the wager. The official spoke. Huh? But isn't that against the rules? We know that, but we can't ignore the person who placed the order. It's just impossible. Feeling a little fear in the employee's voice, Victoria was curious. Can I at least know who the clan is that got involved? Clan Scarlet. Heh. Countess Scathach Scarlet. Victoria swallowed her saliva. What did that monster want with her? She was just a helpless woman. Yes. Fuck, that a somewhat similar scene was taking place on the side of Clan Horseman. Knock knock. Come in. Niklaus' cold voice was heard by the clerk. The employee enters and immediately starts talking. Count Niklaus Horseman, a new clan, has decided to play the game. Please head to the administration room. Niklaus nodded coldly. He knew this was against the rules, so his curiosity was piqued. May I know who the new better is? He asked as he walked towards the exit of the VIP room. Countess Scat-Hack Scarlet. He suddenly stopped walking, a small hint of surprise appeared on his face, but it soon disappeared as if it didn't exist. Okay. Wait here. Yes, father, Jessica spoke up. Sly nodded. Victoria and Niklaus meet at the door to the administration room. The two looked at each other in silence for some time. Oldest first, Niklaus spoke with a knightly gesture. Oh. A vein popped in Victoria's head, she flashed a neutral smile and said, why don't you go first? After all, you are someone of high status. That's true. He nodded, then opened the door. When Niklaus opened the door, they saw a woman with long red hair standing next to an old man. They seemed to be chatting amiably. Oh. Scat-Hack's smile grew. You arrived, good. Come in, come in. The two were wondering if they could refuse this offer, but remembering what was at stake, they entered. They sat on opposite sides, and as they sat down, they heard Scat-Hack's voice. I don't want to waste a lot of time with useless conversations. So my proposal is simple, I want my disciple to fight your two heirs. My bet is simple, whoever defeats my disciple, I will support 100% of whatever goal you have. A. Victoria and Niklaus' eyes seemed to glow, with the same smile on her face. Scat-Hack continued. Do you want to take the king's throne? I will support it. Do you want me to teach your children? I will do it. Do you want to destroy the human world? That is a simple job. Do you want a war against the wolves? I would love to participate. The period of my support is 1 year. She flashed a cold smile. How about? It's a good deal, right? Yes, it was a great deal. In exchange for winning the fight against a vampire who is this woman's disciple, they would have the full support of the strongest female vampire. Just by having Scat-Hack's name in whatever plans they had, that plan would carry more weight than usual. It just goes to show how much weight that woman's name has for all vampires, but they know that there is no free lunch in this world. If this woman trusts her disciples so much, then he must be very strong. But it was hard to know. After all, it's known to everyone that Scat-Hack has enough disciples scattered around the world. And many of them weren't so strong that they could fight two geniuses alone. What do you want if your disciple wins? Niklaus was faster than Victoria to speak. For him, that was a good deal, and he trusted his son, considering his son had that which no vampire had. You don't have much that is useful for my disciple and me. Oh, how about this? My disciple is allowed to come to your house at any time to use your heirs for training, and he can learn anything that is not a secret for your clan. This was a rather strange condition even for the two vampires. Explain to me in more detail about your bet. As a businesswoman, Victoria wanted to be sure what she was getting into. After all, a bet with Scat-Hack shouldn't be simple, right? Haven't I already explained? Are you stupid? She made a confused face. A vein snapped in Victoria's head. She thought she must be being cursed to find two people she couldn't offend on the same day. Soon, they started arguing about this matter. Victoria wanted the title of Count. Niklaus wanted to protect his title, and he also wanted the resources he could only gain from Victoria, but with Scat-Hack's intervention, things had to change, and they didn't have many choices in this matter. After all, the bet was just too good, the support of the strongest female vampire in the world. 30 minutes later, an announcement was heard. A new player has joined the game. This was the reaction from everyone in the arena. They know it's against the rules. Soon Victor's image appeared on the screen. Victor Walker/Snow, Fulger, Scarlet. Disciple of Scat-Hack Scarlet, age, 21. What? All vampires were shocked. What the fuck is Walker/Snow, Fulger, Scarlet? What is his relationship to these three clans? Wait. He has the same last name as that woman. Disciple of Scat-Hack. Another one. He is young. A baby. He has the same name as that woman, so they're families. Is that why he is her disciple? That the audience was going crazy with lots of questions, but one thing was for sure, they were curious now. Dee darling. Violet stutter. Husband. Sasha couldn't believe what she was seeing. She did this. Ruby looked very tired. Pfft. Ha 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 ha. Victor was laughing a lot now. Father. Having fun, Ophis spoke. Scathach enters the VIP room. Hearing Victor chuckle, she showed a small satisfied smile. Victor. Victor stops laughing and looks at Scathach. Go have fun, my stupid disciple. But. Remember, don't lose. If you lose or demonstrate a pathetic fight to me, prepare for your punishment. Her eyes glowed blood red as she flashed a sultry smile. This time, you will spend 10 years training with me in isolation. Scathach would not allow a weak disciple, edited by, is unavailable. That if you want to support me so that I can pay artists to illustrate the characters in my novel, visit my Patreon, patreon.com/victorweissman. More characters images in, /4fetzaf, like it? Add to library. Don't forget to vote to support the book if you like it. Chapter 87, Victor vs. Tatsuya and Einer. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. This time, you will spend 10 years training with me in isolation. Scathach would not allow a disciple of hers to be weak. The three wives reacted strongly to Scathach's words. Wait, mother. Ruby said. You cannot do that. Violet growled angrily. Yes, he just got out of training. Sasha agreed with Violet. I think that would be a reward for him. Pepper whispered. Lakis and Eleanor looked at Pepper. What? Pepper asked with an innocent face. Nothing, Lakis replied. Scathach ignored everyone and continued to look at Victor. Victor exhibited a small smile as he rose from the ice throne while holding Ophis like a princess and placing her where he was sitting. As he made these movements, Victor's shadow grew, and soon Kaguya stepped out of his shadow. Realizing she couldn't stay in Victor's shadow during the game, Kaguya stepped out of his shadow and walked towards Luna, Maria, and Yuki. Ophis turned her face away in confusion. Victor removes his glasses and places them beside the ice throne. He looks into Scathach's eyes and displays a gentle smile. Thank you, Scathach. Scathach felt a strange sensation in her heart when she heard those words. It felt warm and sweet, but it wasn't bad. Girl, I'll be back soon. I'm going to play for a bit. He spoke in a playful voice as he had a small sadistic smile on his face. He looked like a kid who was going to leave home to play with his school friends, although, the smile he had on his face at that moment was not the smile of someone who would play with friends. Then he turned and looked at the glass, and lightly touching the glass, the magic symbols of his white gloves began to glow blood red. And then a scene that left some people shocked happened. Victor's hand began to pass through the glass. What? Sasha, who was closest, was shocked. Slowly, Victor's entire body passed through the glass, and soon he was standing there floating outside the arena. How is this possible? Violet was shocked. She knew what it was, but how did he ever learn it? Did he learn that too? Ruby was surprised. Didn't I tell you? Scathach walked towards her throne. Hearing Scathach's voice, everyone looked at her. I trained his basics. That means he's mastered what I consider the basics of a noble vampire. She spoke with a slight smile on her face as she sat on her throne. She crossed her legs elegantly and continued, if he couldn't do it, I would be disappointed. Everyone was speechless. They were wondering something. How high is Scathach's standard? They know that this technique is basically a fusion of bat transformation abilities with the vampire's fogwalk ability, an advanced technique. And she considers it basic. Scathach's disciples were wondering if this was why she always had a bored face when she taught them. Was it because they didn't meet her standard? Don't be so surprised. My foolish disciple hides more secrets. She laughed a little. After all, I personally taught him that in a fight, you should have 2 or 3 hidden cards to surprise your opponent. Just sit back and enjoy the show. Luna, who was carrying several documents while accompanying Scathach, only sighed when she saw that she was forgotten. Soon she walked towards Sienna and handed all these documents to her. Take it, Lady Sienna. Huh? Sienna was taken aback by the amount of documents she received. What is that? Work. But it's my day off. Luna didn't say anything, she just walked away from Sienna and stood beside the maids, Einer and Tatsuya, who were informed that the game was changed by their respective clan leaders, looked at Victor, who was floating in midair as he descended towards the arena. That smile, I don't like it. Einer no longer liked Victor. Tatsuya's opinion was neutral, but internally, he didn't like that smile from Victor either. Oh. That boy, has he mastered it? An older vampire in the audience spoke in curiosity when he saw Victor floating, as expected of that woman's disciple, I think. Victor descended smoothly in the middle of the 2 participants, and the moment his feet touched the arena floor, the entire surface was turned to ice. Einer and Tatsuya quickly jumped. This power, a man in the audience was shocked. It's from that woman's clan. Is that why he has the last name Scarlet? Is he her son or something? Idiot, didn't you see the other last names too? So who is he? I do not know. Shoo, shut up. Things are starting to get interesting. Victor's smile grew, a smile that showed all his sharp teeth was shown to the audience. He inhaled a little of the air around him, and when he let the air out of his lungs. Einer Horseman, his voice echoed throughout the arena. It was a heavy voice, a strong voice. Tatsuya. Let's have fun. Start. The referee spoke as if following Victor, wasting no time. Einer ran towards Victor. He felt an instinctive desire to want to wipe that smile off Victor's face. He didn't like it. Creating a rapier with his powers, he tried to pierce Victor's face. He wanted to pierce his head. And wipe that smile off his face. Die. The thrilling scene he'd been hoping for didn't happen. Covering his fingers with pure ice, Victor stopped Einer's attack with just one finger. Bang. Everyone heard the sound of 2 blades colliding. Before he could react to the scene that happened before him, he felt his face being hit by something invisible. At the same time, Victor made a move. He positioned himself with a simple martial arts pose and punched the air. Fush! A blast of air flew towards Einer. He was unable to dodge. The gust of wind hit him with violent force. Boom! An explosion happened when Einer hit the wall. Cough! Einer coughed up blood on the floor, but the attack wasn't over yet. The effects of Victor's attack began to show up in Einer's body, his body slowly starting to freeze. What? The audience didn't know how to react. They just couldn't understand what just happened in front of them. Is that the power of a vampire baby? The older vampire opened his eyes in shock. He felt like he was seeing the power of a 500-year-old vampire. The only thing he was thinking now was, that monster created another little monster. Good Scathach would look pleased. Mother. You overreacted. Again. Pepper could only say that she had seen this attack before, and she knows how devastating this attack is. Yes, he did it. I hope that guy is alive. Lakis. He's a vampire, he won't die that easy. I think Ruby. Darling Violet is a little red in the face. Lady Victoria. Hecate didn't know what to say when she saw Victoria's glare. That woman created a monster. Hecate can't help nodding her head instinctively, so she goes back to looking at the arena with curious eyes. Victor looked at Tatsuya. You use katanas, right? He flashed a small smile. Let's make things a little fairer. Tatsuya remained silent. His eyes were very serious, and he simply understood that the man in front of him shouldn't be underestimated. Victor snaps his fingers, and slowly a great sword of pure ice is created in front of him, and then he takes the great sword and places it on his shoulder as he displayed a provocative smile on his face. Now the fight is fair. The audience was speechless. Is that fair? You are carrying a sword over 2 meters long. Bullshit. Victor raises his hand, and with a provoking gesture, he says. Come. Tatsuya didn't move, and he just held his scabbard and positioned himself. Slowly, Tatsuya's image began to fade. Heh. You won't come. In that case. Victor's body began to crackle with lightning, and soon he disappeared and left only a trail of golden light behind. Tatsuya's eyes opened in shock. Wah. Rumble. The sound of lightning hitting something was heard. Soon everyone could see Tatsuya flying towards the sky. He seemed unconscious. With a big smile on his face, Victor lifted his finger, and a sphere of fire began to be created, and slowly. This sphere started to grow. What, am I dreaming? Someone from the audience asked in disbelief as they rubbed their eyes. What is this? What is this being? No. What is this monster? When the sphere of fire grew enough to be called a miniature sun. Burn. The sphere flew towards Tatsuya. Tatsuya. Doge now. Victoria screamed in horror. She feared for her son's safety. Hearing his mother's voice, Tatsuya's eyes opened. His eyes seemed to glow golden for a few seconds. His body was enveloped in lightning, and soon he disappeared from the sky. The fireball flew towards the dark nightingale sky and exploded, the effect of the explosion so big that all the clouds around the city were gone. For the first time in many years, everyone could see the capital sky clear without a cloud. An uncomfortable silence descended on everyone in the arena. The audience was speechless again. They didn't know how to react to what they had just seen. It was just too unbelievable. That man. No, that monster just used the 3 powers of the Count clans. Despite having lost the title of Vampire Count, Clan Fulgur was still considered by the public to be a Count's family. After all, they held the title for a long time. Victoria sighed in relief when she saw her son safe, but, Skathack. She spoke in a low voice as her body began to shake, and, slowly, a feeling of anger rose inside her. Her eyes glowed blood red. She squeezed the chair she was sitting in so hard that the chair cracked under her strength. Skathack Scarlet. Just what kind of monster did you create? Victoria's voice echoed throughout the silent arena, and soon, everyone could hear the wild laughter of the strongest female vampire in the world. Ha 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 ha. Edited by, is unavailable. If you want to support me so that I can pay artists to illustrate the characters in my novel, visit my Patreon, patreon.com/victorweisman. More characters images in, /4fetzaf, like it? Add to library. Don't forget to vote to support the book if you like it. Chapter 88, A Little Monster Was Created. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Father Sly spoke in a neutral tone. I know. I didn't expect this result either. Niklaus spoke with a serious face, very different from what he'd shown before. Hearing Skathack Scarlet's laugh, the man clenched his fist a little harder. He felt cheated. Now he understood why that woman was so confident, but soon his expression became serene since he remembered that even if his son lost to Victor, he wouldn't lose the Count title. He would just lose Skathack's support. That woman, did she do all this just to show off her disciple? Niklaus thought it was very unlikely. She didn't seem like that kind of woman. Niklaus looked at Victor. What kind of monster are you? His curiosity started to grow. For him, a vampire who could use 3 completely opposite powers was something quite interesting. Is he an experiment organized by the 3 clans? Are they in an alliance? Niklaus thought that an abnormal vampire like Victor couldn't be born suddenly overnight. Someone must have created him. Jessica looked at Victor and then looked at her father. He really didn't recognize him. Is he getting senile? She thought inwardly. Jessica looks at Victor again, although he has changed a lot compared to his old appearance. Violet Snow, the heiress of Clan Snow. She's spent her entire growth phase in the human world, and that would obviously arouse a little curiosity from the other clans. What is Clan Snow's heiress doing in the human world? That was their curiosity at the time, and to satiate their curiosity, they sent someone to investigate, and the result disappointed most of them. Oh, so she's just obsessed with new food. That's what the older vampires thought, and they completely forgot about that subject. They would never imagine that this food would become what it is today. Victor's smile grew. Come on, come on. Get up. What are you waiting for? I know you weren't defeated by that alone. I trust you, don't disappoint me. Rumble. The sound of lightning was heard. Hearing this, Victor's smile only grew more distorted. Good. Soon Tatsuya appeared in front of Victor. His appearance was immaculate as always, but some parts of his yukata were completely destroyed. I don't know how it feels to know you trust me. He spoke in a neutral tone as he stretched his body a little. That hurt. Bom. An explosion is heard by everyone, and soon Einer appears beside Tatsuya. Motherfucker. Einer's expression was not good. Ha ha ha. Slap, slap. Victor started to laugh out loud as he clapped his hands. Good, good. That's how it has to be. If that weren't so, it wouldn't be fun. I almost died. Tatsuya muttered with a neutral expression. Tatsuya was wondering if this man had forgotten the rules. Victor looked at Tatsuya. Don't lie to me. I knew you would survive that attack. Tatsuya remained silent since he didn't want to deny or confirm Victor's words. And you? He pointed to Einer. I knew you would survive that small slap I gave. Small slap. That one. I almost died. Einer was quite annoyed. Now. Let's continue. With a small thrust of his arms, Victor threw his great sword towards them both. The two quickly dodged the attack. Boom. Like a missile hitting the ground, the sword was destroyed and created a massive explosion of pure ice. Looking at this scene, Einer and Tatsuya look at each other for a few seconds and nod. They seem to have come to a common understanding. Einer pulled away from Tatsuya, his body slowly grew, his skin turned dark, and long black wings appeared behind him. Oh. Victor's smile only widened as he saw Einer step into vampire count form. Tatsuya's body began to crackle, and, gradually, his body was covered in lightning, and soon he disappeared in a flash of golden light. Ha ha ha. Victor creates another ice greatsword and defends against Tatsuya's attack. Bang! The sound of swords clashing was heard by everyone. Have you finally decided to use all your power? Tatsuya didn't answer. He didn't need to, he just concentrated on using the lightning power more. He uses his power to increase his speed, and soon he disappears in front of Victor. Suddenly a large black thorn came out of the ground, pierced Victor's stomach, and lifted him into the air. Die! Einer threw black thorns from his wings. Ha 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 ha. Despite having a massive wound in his stomach, Victor never stopped laughing. Darling/husband. Ruby, Violet, and Sasha exclaimed at the same time. Are you really vampires? That wound is nothing, watch. Scathach spoke. Victor snaps his fingers, and a large ice pillar is created that destroys the black thorn. Then he stood on top of the pillar and created an ice shield in front of him. The thorns thrown by Einer hit the ice shield and do not leave a scratch. TSK. Not wanting to give up, he continued to throw the thorns into the ice shield. Slowly, the shield began to crack, but just when Einer thought it would be destroyed, the ice shield suddenly regenerated. Fuck. Die. Die. Ha ha ha. Victor chuckled in amusement. He liked seeing Einer's angry expression. Few seconds passed, and a scene happened that left all the younger vampires gaping. Victor's stomach regenerated at an abnormal speed, and his clothing was also intact. It was like he went back in time. And it was in less than 7 seconds. What is this guy? They kept being surprised to see Victor's abilities. See? Scathach smiled. Sasha, Violet, and Ruby knew this, but they were still worried. Tatsuya suddenly appears behind Victor. He was floating in the air with his body covered in lightning as he positioned himself in an Iajutsu pose. Oh. Are you going to use that technique? Victor's smile grew. Ryujin. Hakai no Sora. He unsheathed his katana at an almost invisible speed. Ro o air. Just like the last time, a blue-eyed oriental dragon with golden scales covered in lightning flew toward Victor. Ooh! The audience was excited when they saw that Eastern dragon again, and the audience wasn't the only one, Victor was too. It's so beautiful. Victor wore a satisfied smile as if he were enjoying a piece of art. But Victor raises his hand in front of him, the magic circle on his glove starts to glow brightly. It's a shame it's so weak. He waits for the dragon to touch his hand, and a vision that all young vampires and Tatsuya won't forget happens. The dragon became a sculpture of ice. How is this possible? He froze the lightning. It makes no sense. This Tatsuya was speechless. Victor clenched his fist a little, and soon the entire ice sculpture was destroyed. Then he looked at Tatsuya with his eyes glowing red. It's my turn. Tatsuya unconsciously took a step back when he saw Victor's gaze, and upon realizing what he had done, it made him very angry with himself. Me scared? Me. Unforgivable. He was very strict with himself. When you meet something you don't know, you feel scared. He suddenly heard Victor's voice beside him. He quickly turned around in an attempt to react, but it was useless, and Victor grabs Tatsuya by the neck. Apparently, you feel it too. Let go of me. Tatsuya started to struggle. He tried to cut Victor's arm, but Victor's arm was covered in pure ice, and Tatsuya's katana couldn't cut the ice from his arm. Okay. I will. Victor showed an innocent smile. That while holding Tatsuya's neck, Victor rolled a little in the air and threw him towards Einer. Seeing Tatsuya flying towards him, Einer flashed a smile. He thought it was a good idea to submit Tatsuya now, but thinking that he would have to face Victor alone later, he changed his mind. He decided to help Tatsuya. He flies towards Tatsuya and catches him in the air. Stop playing around. Let's defeat this monster soon. What do you think I'm trying to do? Tatsuya spoke in a serious tone as he covered his body with lightning. The giant ice shield that Victor created melted, and Victor began to control the water towards the sky. Today's weather forecast is ice thorns. Take care of the children. He displayed an innocent smile. This fucker. Einer's eyes flashed with anger. Soon a shower of icy thorns began to fall towards the two men. Tatsuya managed to dodge the attacks using his lightning power. However, a very different situation was happening with Einer. As he didn't have much mobility in the air, he decided to use his thorns as a defense. Victor seemed to be tuning his voice, then he spoke with an innocent smile on his face. Attention, please. We have just received information that intense lightning showers are on the way. Rumble, rumble. Sounds of thundering lightning could be heard in the sky. Motherfucker. This time even Tatsuya insulted Victor, and as Victor spoke, an intense rain of lightning began to fall towards Tatsuya and Einer. Fuck. Lightning broke through Einer's defense and hit him. The same happened with Tatsuya. Ugh. Despite having the power of lightning, Tatsuya was not immune to it. Why? Fire. The audience was speechless when they saw that wherever the lightning struck, a few seconds later, that same area caught fire, and it was quite obvious that this occurrence was unnatural. Can that monster merge his power? Someone in the audience screamed. Ha 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 ha. Victor laughed a lot. He looks like he's having fun. Ruby flashed a small smile. Yeah. Sasha also displayed a small smile. Darling. Violet's eyes looked quite dangerous now, narrowly surviving the rain of lightning and icy thorns. The two looked at Victor with an annoyed look. Good. Victor started clapping again with a big smile on his face, but as if by magic, his smile changed to an innocent smile, and he said. But, what are you going to do with this one? He pointed to the sky. Einer and Tatsuya, even the audience, looked up at the sky, and the first thing they saw was a giant spike of ice that could easily cover the entire arena. Fuck, the two spoke at the same time. Edited by, is unavailable. If you want to support me so that I can pay artists to illustrate the characters in my novel, visit my Patreon. patreon.com/victorweissman. More characters images in ./4 like it? Add to library. Don't forget to vote to support the book if you like it. Chapter 89, Teamwork. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Kid. Do you want to destroy the arena? An older vampire in the audience yelled. The vampire knew most of the arena was safe, considering it had been equipped with various defensive enchantments created by the witches, but an attack of this magnitude will destroy these enchantments. Victor looks at the oldest vampire in the audience and flashes a small smile. Do I look like I care? The audience was speechless. Ha 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 ha. Scathack was having a great time. Mother, stop laughing. This is serious. If he unleashes an attack of that size, the entire arena will be destroyed. Ruby spoke. And not only that, what will happen to us? Lakis spoke. Awawawawa, we are going to die. Pepper was running around while freaking out. Sienna looks at the giant ice spike that was approaching and thinks, that's my technique, huh? She didn't know how it felt to see that her mother taught her technique to someone, but one thing she was sure of, my mother created a monster just like her. Do you underestimate witch technology so much? If the arena were destroyed by such an attack, the arena wouldn't have lasted for millennia. Elizabeth said. As a princess, she was the one who came into contact with witches the most, and because of that, she knew how reliable witch technology was, even though they were expensive. The sisters were silent, but inwardly they were calmer. Fuck. He really attacked. Suddenly everyone heard the scream of someone from the audience, as they quickly looked up to the sky and saw the gigantic ice spike falling towards the arena. Pepper's face darkened, and with the speed that surprised everyone, she made a decision, I'll run away. Just as she started to run, she was caught by her shirt collar by Sasha. Ugya. Pepper made a strange noise, Fway. Let me go. I will run away. Calm down, it's my husband we're talking about. He wouldn't put us in danger. Sasha looks at Ruby. You as his wife should know about his personality. Ruby nodded in agreement with Sasha's words. She knew what kind of man Victor was, but she was taken aback by his sudden personality change, but when she thought more calmly, she found he hadn't changed much. Like her mother, he would always put the safety of his family first. Indeed. Darling, doesn't play with our safety. Violet flashed a loving smile. She and Sasha weren't worried. Father trustworthy. Ophis spoke. Violet, Ruby, and Sasha looked at Ophis blankly. They didn't know how to feel to hear this little princess talking so confidently about Victor. Elizabeth was feeling the same feeling they were. Hey, what are we going to do? Tatsuya asked with a blank face while looking at the spike of ice approaching the arena as he started to prepare himself. Do I look like someone who knows? Einer responded with an expressionless look as he prepared himself as well. If things got too much worse, I still have it. I won't lose so easily. My father will not accept another failure. Tatsuya covered his body with the power of lightning, and he looked towards the spike of ice with sharp eyes. I will cut it. Huh. Einer didn't believe what he heard. That's not normal ice, you know that, right? Of course I know. The strongest female vampire's powers are well known. But, I doubt that man is on that woman's level. He spoke with confidence. Einer nodded in agreement with Tatsuya's words. Have you finished planning? Tatsuya and Einer felt very strange now. Was he waiting for us? That's what they thought. Good, good. Victor waved several times. Let's make things more interesting. Soon, he raised his finger to the sky. A small bolt of lightning shot out of Victor's finger and flew towards the ice. What is he doing? Someone from the audience asked curiously. Even though they knew they were in danger, they didn't care that much. They know the arena is safe, and if things go too far, the referee will intervene. After all, he must protect the audience, and it's not like they can't protect themselves, they're vampires, and most of the vampires present are over 300 years old. Only a few vampires were younger than that. When the little lightning bolt touched the ice spike, the entire ice spike was covered in lightning. The image of a giant ice spike covered by lightning was seen by all. The audience was silent. Bloody hell. He's overreacting. Someone from the audience screamed, and everyone couldn't help but agree with that person. Victor exhibited a small smile and created a small ball of fire, which he threw on the ice spike. And the previous scene was repeated. Fuushush. Soon the entire ice spike was covered with the three elements. The image of a giant spike covered with lightning and fire that was the weakness of vampires was a rather intimidating sight. The referee looked up at the sky, and the eyes behind his mask seemed to glow for a moment. It's not time yet. Soon his eyes returned to normal color. He made the decision to wait. His thought was that he would step in if things got too far, but this kind of power was still acceptable by his standards. This is excessive. Even Violet was feeling it now. Ha 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 ha. Good, but that's still not enough. Scat Haka's eyes glowed a dangerous red. She seemed to be thinking about something profound. Is that still not enough? Everyone in the VIP room had no reaction at hearing Scat Haka's words. Mother. Ruby looked at her mother, a little worried. She knew that expression, and from her own experience, she knew that this was not a good thing. Can you cut that? Einer said as he was covered in a cold sweat. I'll try. Tatsuya didn't look very confident. Victor's smile grew unnaturally, his eyes glowed blood red, and Victor's image seemed to get distorted. And now? What are you going to do? The attack is coming. That crazy son of a bitch. Einer muttered angrily. Tatsuya nodded in agreement with Einer's words. TSK, we have no choices. Let's destroy this thing. Einer points his hand to Tatsuya. A dark power came out of Einer's hand and covered Tatsuya's body. Rumble, rumble. Tatsuya's lightning changed to black lightning. Tatsuya didn't understand what Einer did, but he felt stronger. Oh. What is this? Victor noticed it too, and knowing that his opponent got stronger made the smile on his face grow. He seemed to be enjoying it a lot. This will help protect you from the fire and will increase your strength a little. Einer didn't explain too deeply. What is that? My power. Now get ready. Tatsuya nods and doesn't question it anymore. He understood that Einer didn't want to talk about it. In the end, he needed to use that. Niklaus's eyes sparkled a little when he saw Einer's attitude. He doesn't have a choice, Svi responded neutrally. Either he uses it, or he loses, Jessica spoke up. I will try to hold off the attack as long as possible. You must destroy it. Einer said. Okay. Tatsuya assumes the position of Ayajutsu, rumble, rumble. The surrounding black lightning was building in power. Einer raises his hand towards the ice spike. I didn't want to use so much energy, but I don't have a choice. His eyes began to glow more intensely. Everyone in the arena feels the ground shake as if there's an earthquake. What is happening? Pepper asked. Something is coming from under the earth. Eleanor, who was more sensitive, spoke. Soon several giant thorns rose towards the sky. The thorns began to rotate and seemed to be merging. Slowly, the two powers were closing in on each other until... Boom! The two attacks collided. An incredible explosion of power took place. Einer's thorn and Victor's ice spike seemed to be struggling to see what power would lose first. Ugh! Einer felt the recoil of the attack. He felt his whole body damaged, but he ignored it and looked at Tatsuya. Do it. Tatsuya nodded slightly. Bang. Suddenly everyone heard the sound of lightning hitting something, so they took their attention away from the clash of powers and looked at the arena. Soon they could see Tatsuya covered in lightning. His hair was up like he was defying gravity, his eyes were glowing gold, and the skin on his hand was completely black with tiny sparks crackling. It was like his hand was bathed in lightning. One hit, one kill. He muttered, and then he was gone, exceeding the speed he showed before. He flew towards the ice spike. Einer seizes this chance and removes his thorns. Losing the only thing holding it back from falling, the spike of ice that Victor created began to fall again towards Tatsuya and Einer. Tatsuya at this moment appears in front of the gigantic spike. Raria no Zengiki. This time, the speed with which he drew the katana from its scabbard was so fast that few could see what he did. A moment of silence in the arena, but that silence was broken by Victor's voice. He spoke in a solemn voice. "Ah, that was amazing." "Yes, indeed. That really was a wonderful performance." He seemed to be enjoying something as he looked at the spike he created. Crack. Suddenly everyone could hear the sound of something breaking. They quickly looked up at the sky and opened their mouths in shock. He cut that attack. Someone in the audience screamed, and, as if in sync with this man in the audience, the spike of ice began to snap in half. "Oh! They did it." Edited by, is unavailable. If you want to support me so that I can pay artists to illustrate the characters in my novel, visit my Patreon, patreon.com/Victor Weissman. More characters images in, /4fetzaf, like it? Add to library. Don't forget to vote to support the book if you like it. Chapter 90, The End. And the Beginning. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 90, The End. And the Beginning. The audience was cheering excitedly. The show of power, along with Tatsuya and Einer overcoming Victor's almost invincible power, was great entertainment for everyone, but not everyone was enjoying it. The ice debris were still falling towards the arena. The arena will not be destroyed, but the damage to the city will be enormous. The referee realized this, and he wanted to intervene since he couldn't let a part of the city be destroyed. "Don't worry, old man." The referee heard Victor's voice. He heard a snapping of fingers, and soon all the ice debris created by Victor turned to water and then turned to ice again, but this time, it was just hail. Soon a small hailstorm occurred in the arena. The referee looked at Victor, and, seeing the satisfied smile on his face, the referee felt awkward. Why does he look so pleased? Why is his skin glowing? Does he look prettier? What the fuck? The referee had a lot of doubts in his head now, but before asking something, he wanted to refute something. "I'm not old." "What is your age?" Victor asked. 1794, "I'm still an adult." The referee responded. "You're older than the man at the store I knew. You're an old man." "I'm not." The referee didn't want to give up. He felt a bad feeling when he was called old. He didn't like it. "Yes, you are. But don't worry, you can still find a wife, but she won't be as pretty as my wives." A vein popped in the referee's head, but because he was wearing a mask, his face was not seen by Victor. "Are you going to continue the match?" the referee asked, changing the subject. "I wanted to. But unfortunately." Victor looked at Einer and Tatsuya, who were on the ground breathing deeply. They looked quite tired. "They are like this." Sigh. Victor released a long, disappointed sigh. "That's really a shame. I was having so much fun, but unfortunately, they got tired." The referee remained neutral and didn't comment on this, but internally, he was thinking the same thing as Victor. The fight was a lot of fun for him too. "I haven't lost the fight yet," Einer said. He looked quite tired, and his transformation had already been undone. Tatsuya leaned on his katana and got up too. The two looked at Victor with the intention of continuing the fight. "Oh." Victor's eyes gleamed in admiration, and he displayed a small satisfied smile. Then, slowly, that smile grew, and he spoke with a big happy smile. "I like both of you." Eh? Tatsuya and Einer didn't understand. "Huh." The audience didn't get it either. "What?" Ruby, Sasha, and Violet were freaking out. "Pfft. Ha 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 ha." Scathach was laughing a lot. She somehow remembered her past. She remembers doing the same thing when she was younger. It's a unique feeling when you meet a strong warrior. Wrong, the correct word would be a rival. Although, These two boys are still far from my disciple's level, but they have talent. Mainly that boy from Clan Horseman. Scathach judged the two to be gifted vampires. Tatsuya has a very peculiar katana-based martial art, and he has a strange power of illusion, not to mention that he also has the powers of Clan Fulgur. Einer, despite being young, could already access the vampire count form and even seem to have a lot of control over his power in this form, although he still has stamina issues. Realizing what he said, Victor corrected himself. Oh, don't look at me like that. I like women, and I'm married too. What? This time it was the female vampires in the audience who screamed. A young vampire so strong and with excellent connections. It's the dream of every female vampire who doesn't have much status, not to mention that Victor is a baby. These women's Shota instincts were screaming to eat him. This bitches. Violet's eyes weren't pretty now. Sasha and Ruby shared the same sentiment. Even Scathach felt a little annoyed when he heard the female vampires in the audience talking about Victor. They think they can do whatever they want with my disciple. Ha! Looks like some female vampires are going to disappear today. .5 Killing intents began to leak from the VIP room towards the audience, and it made the female vampires scream in fear. Wait, 5. Father. Is mine. No one knew how to react to Ophis words except Violet. Dash. Kid, go grow up first. You are too young. Violet was going to insult Ophis, but realizing it was inappropriate to say that to a child, she quickly changed what she was going to say. A small vein popped in Ophis' head. Is mine. Who? Violet's eyes glowed blood red. Elizabeth again was in disbelief when she sensed a feeling of anger coming from Ophis. She is usually so apathetic. Oh. Tatsuya and Einer sighed a little when they heard Victor's words. Although I really want to continue our fight. They were surprised to hear Victor's voice beside them. You are in no condition to fight, and I won't have fun like that. Victor brings both of his hands towards Tatsuya and Einer's forehead. See you in the future. Einer, and Tatsuya. What? Soon he finger-flicked their foreheads. Boom. A small explosion happened, and the two flew towards the wall completely unconscious. The referee appeared beside the two and assessed them. Then, seeing that the two were not in a position to continue, he raises his hand and says. The winner is Victor Walker. Oh, that the audience roared excitedly as they clapped their hands. A few hours later, in a meeting room, Countess Scathach Scarlet, Victoria Ryder, and Count Niklaus Horseman were present. Next to them was the director of the arena. Then, what happens to our game? Victoria asked with a neutral look. My disciple won, so our reward is what I said at the previous meeting. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about my game against this old man. She pointed to Niklaus, who was a little way off. Oh, that's your problem. Scathach exhibited a small smile. Victoria's face shook a little. Scathach elaborated a little. From the beginning, I had made it clear, the fight that will take place against my disciple is another completely separate game. The fight against my disciple has nothing to do with your game. You're the one who didn't pay attention. So, this fight was futile. Victoria spoke. For you guys? Yes. But for my disciple? Of course not, since he can finally loosen up a bit. Victoria was feeling cheated now, but she knew Scathach was right. From the start, she never said she would meddle in their game. What happened was basically her interfering in the fight between two clans just so her disciple could let go a little. They fought for nothing. Irrational. This woman is very irrational. She just casually interfered with the fighting of other clans just for her disciple to have fun. Hateful woman. Victoria was freaking out internally, but she didn't dare say it out loud. Niklaus was thinking a little differently. Not everything was useless. My son learned from this fight. It was a shame he failed, but unlike before, this situation was not in his control. He wasn't an irrational man, he was just very strict, and they were able to discover the existence of Victor, which in itself changes a lot. Are we done? I have to go now. Enjoy the game. Scat-Hack got up and walked towards the exit. Countess Scat-Hack Scarlet. Niklaus looked at Scat-Hack. Scat-Hack turned and looked at the man. Who is that boy? Scat-Hack exhibited a small smile. He's my son-in-law. What? Victoria opened her mouth in shock. She never thought she would live long enough to hear those words from Scat-Hack's mouth. After all, she knows this woman's stories. She knows she wouldn't accept an ordinary man to be her daughter's husband. And my disciple. She laughed a little. He's a lot of things, but it's up to you to find that out, considering he'll be coming to your house in the near future. I see. Niklaus nodded, ending the conversation. Scat-Hack soon left the room. A moment of silence fell in the room. The two clan leaders were thinking about their next move, but before that, they needed to resolve this situation. Are you going to continue the bet? No. Victoria replied after thinking for a moment. The situation has changed. She gets up and walks towards the exit. So we decided this as a tie. Yes. It's fine by me. She spoke as soon as she opened the door and left the room. Victoria didn't give up on her ambitions, she just backed off. Victor's existence and his connection to the three great vampire clans can bring about many changes, and she doesn't want to make another rash decision like she did now. Niklaus looked at the arena director for a few seconds, but soon he got up and left the arena too. The arena director displayed a small smile as the guests left his room. Did you send it to the king? Yes. A man wearing an all-black outfit with a mask on his face appeared behind the director. Good. I wonder what his reaction was. The man smiled a little. If I may say so. Oh. The king is angry. This is rare. He rarely displays emotions even to his subordinates. Was he angry with the fight? It didn't look like he was angry about the fight. Something that might annoy the king. His daughters, I think. I do not know. I'm just his eyes and ears. Soon he disappears. I know. The man exhibited a smile. Edited by, is unavailable. If you want to support me so that I can pay artists to illustrate the characters in my novel, visit my Patreon, patreon.com/victorweissman. More characters images in, /4fetzaf, like it? Add to library. Don't forget to vote to support the book if you like it.